Over 1,000 New Yorkers died, not at sea, but trapped in a fiery inferno just miles from Manhattan. It was a disaster so immense, so horrific, it redefined maritime safety. Yet somehow the story of the General Slocum, a pleasure steamer that became a floating tomb, has faded from the collective memory of a city that never forgets. Today, we delve into that forgotten tragedy, peeling back the layers of time to understand how a day of celebration for a tight-knit German-American community turned into one of New York City's darkest chapters. The year was 1904. New York City hummed with the energy of a burgeoning metropolis. Immigrants poured in, building new lives, new communities. Among them, the German-American population thrived, particularly in areas like Kleindeutschland or Little Germany on the Lower East Side. For years, the St. Mark's Evangelical Lutheran Church had organized an annual outing, a joyous excursion up the East River to a picnic grove on Long Island. It was a cherished tradition, a day of respite and community for families who worked tirelessly. On June 15, 1904, over 300 passengers, mostly women and children, boarded the General Slocum, a grand side-wheel paddle steamer. The air was thick with excitement, laughter, and the promise of a beautiful day. The Slocum herself was a familiar sight on the East River. Launched in 1891, she was considered a modern vessel, designed for excursion trips. But beneath her gleaming paint and festive banners, a deadly secret festered. The ship's owner, the Knickerbocker Steamboat Company, had a history of cutting corners. Safety inspections were often superficial, and crucial equipment, intended to save lives, was notoriously neglected. Life preservers, for instance, were dry-rotted and brittle, some even weighted with iron bars to meet minimum requirements. Fire hoses were cracked and useless, their nozzles painted shut. Fire buckets, a basic safety measure, were often empty or missing. It was a ticking time bomb disguised as a pleasure craft, and as the Slocum steamed north past Hell Gate, its fate was already sealed. The journey had barely begun. Around 10:00 a.m., as the ship passed 97th Street, a fire ignited in a storage compartment forward of the main deck. Witnesses later claimed it started from a discarded cigarette or match, carelessly dropped into a bale of hay. The crew's initial attempts to extinguish the blaze were futile. The rotten fire hoses burst. The painted-shut nozzles rendered others useless. Panic began to ripple through the decks as smoke billowed upwards. Captain William Van Schaik made a series of critical and ultimately fatal decisions. Instead of beaching the ship immediately, which would have saved countless lives, he opted to continue towards North Brother Island, hoping to save his vessel. This decision proved catastrophic. As the Slocum picked up speed, the wind fanned the flames, transforming the wooden vessel into a roaring inferno. The ship became a chimney, trapping passengers in a maelstrom of fire and smoke. The crew distributed the life preservers, those dry-rotted, weighted mockeries of safety equipment. Many disintegrated on impact, others dragged their wearers down. Non-swimmers, mostly women and children, had no chance. The sheer number of victims made rescue efforts overwhelming. Small boats, tugboats, and ferries rushed to the scene, but the horrifying reality was that most of the passengers were already lost, swallowed by the river or consumed by the flames. The scenes on the river were unimaginable. Mothers threw their children overboard, hoping they might be picked up. Families huddled together, praying as the flames consumed them. The cries of the dying echoed across the water. By the time the Slocum finally ran aground near North Brother Island, she was a charred hulk. More than 21 people out of 342 on board perished. It was the deadliest disaster in New York City history until 9/11. The aftermath was a city in shock. The streets of Kleindeutschland, once vibrant, became a place of profound grief. Every family seemed to have lost someone. The community, already close-knit, was utterly devastated. Investigations quickly uncovered the shocking negligence. The dry-rotted life preservers, the useless fire equipment, the inadequate crew training, it all pointed to systemic corruption and a disregard for human life. Captain Van Schaik was convicted of criminal negligence and served a short prison sentence. Other officials and company owners largely escaped accountability, protected by legal loopholes and corporate shell games. The General Slocum disaster led to significant changes in maritime safety regulations. New laws mandated better fireproofing, stricter inspections, and genuine, functional safety equipment on passenger vessels. But for the community of Kleindeutschland, the damage was irreparable. The tragedy decimated its population, shattering families and scattering survivors. The vibrant German neighborhood slowly dissolved, its heart ripped out. The General Slocum disaster stands as a chilling reminder of the devastating consequences of corporate greed and regulatory failure. It is a story not just of a forgotten ship, but of a forgotten community whose memory deserves to be honored. The ghostly echo of that fiery day still lingers over the East River, a silent testament to the lives lost and the lessons learned, often too late. What other forgotten maritime tragedies haunt the depths of history? Let us know in the comments.